Hello, my name is Justin Wright, and I am currently taking part in the NATE Personal Fitness Trainer course. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about myofascial lines. Now, what a myofascial line is a line that runs throughout the body that muscles follow along, kind of like a train track. First one I'm going to start off with is the back superficial line. Now, there's two lines in the back superficial lines, one for the right and one for the left. Now they both start on the back side. They start at the bottom of the toes, they come up the foot, around the heel, up the ankle, the back side of the knee, up past the glutes, the back, up past the shoulders as well, to the neck, and all the way around to the front, or the top of the skull, I should say. Now, the postural function of this line is to allow the body to remain in an extended state. When we're born in the fetal position, and it is our back superficial lines strengthening that allows us to remain in an upright position. Now, the movement function of the back superficial line is for extension of the body, as well as hyperextension and flexion of the knee and the foot. The back superficial line primarily consists of slow twitch fibers. Now, the front superficial line is pretty much the opposite of the back superficial line. It starts at the top of the toes at the end, comes up the ankles, up the knees, up to the hip, and then it resumes at the pelvis, comes up the rectus abdominis, past the pectoral muscles, up to the neck, and then at the collarbone it comes up into the ears. Now, the postural function of this is to counterbalance the back superficial line. It is important for personal trainers to pay attention to both these lines and make sure they're even, as if one is stronger than the other, it could cause a muscle imbalance. Now, the front superficial line primarily consists of fast twitch fibers. Its movement function is flexion of the trunk, so a bending, as well as extension of the knee and toes, so extending from a flexed state. As well, the front superficial line helps keep the face, the pelvis, and the rib cage up. Helps keep them in an upright position to where they're supposed to be. Next up, we're on to the lateral line. Now, the lateral line starts at the medial lateral part of the foot, comes up the side, past the ankle, the knee, the hip. Then as soon as it hits the rib cage, it comes along in a shoelace pattern around the rib cage, comes up under the shoulders, around, and also to the ears. Now, this line is primarily to balance left from right, but it also helps balance front from back in the sense that it mediates with all the other lines. So all in all, it is to help with pretty much overall balance. Now, the movement function of the lateral line is lateral flexions. You got abduction of the hip and eversion of the foot. Next up, we're on to the spiral line. Now, the spiral line is kind of like the lateral line in the sense that it helps with overall balance. Now, it starts at the skull, wraps around both sides of the skull, the neck, the shoulders. It wraps around the ribs, comes to the hips, wraps around the legs, comes around to the outside, comes down under the feet, up to the erector spinae, and then it ends pretty much where it starts at. So it comes all the way around. Now, the postural function of this is for overall balance, but the movement function is for oblique rotations or any twisting motion. This mediates with the front superficial line, the back superficial lines, and the deep arm lines. So it's almost as much as the lateral lines. Last but not least, we're on to the different functional lines. We have back functional lines and we have front functional lines. These lines help bring the opposite shoulder to the opposite hip. So the front functional line starts at the head, comes up and down, comes to the 5th or 6th rib, comes down, and it comes all the way to the adductor longus. Now the back functional line starts at the back, also comes down, and all the way down into the legs. Now these functional lines are different than superficial lines in that they're not quite as much focused on postural functions. They're more so for tricky movements that we have to do, such as different yoga poses or swings that we have to do in tennis or kick with soccer. Anything that does a diagonal movement that we have to hold. So